This is our composting toilet that we use aboard our tiny houseboat, Deanne's Rose. I've made a new box section for the back, which is essentially intended to hold the toilet seat in place, and it also, with the bungee cord you notice just around here, it securely holds the pail in place. The tolerances are very tight. You can pick up the whole unit, and you can see the bucket sticks with the back support. Now so while yes, it is just a pail, it is a little bit more than a pail because it now is more sturdy, and you essentially have a full-size seat that has a comfortable overlap, so you can sit as though you are sitting on your own personal throne at home. It is very comfortable, 16-inch height, which is very helpful for me with my bad hip. Now, in comparison to some of the square types, where you just put the pail in the box, it tends to be a little more comfortable because you can get your feet in and around. Now, I've sprayed the pail. It's just a standard pail from a hardware store, a painter's pail. I've sprayed it brown, so don't get confused. There is some overspray in the pail. It is not what you think. It is a clean pail. And this is what you do. You start it off with a mix of peat moss and sawdust. The seat fits nicely over top with a good rim space around it so that it covers very nicely. Here is how we keep our peat moss and sawdust mix in another small tin. And if you pack it down, you actually have quite a bit in there. This amount will last you, well, I've already used a bit, obviously. So usually when we have this full, it'll last 3-4 days. So, and like I say, it packs quite nicely, being peat moss. It has a certain texture that packs down. Now, I haven't painted the back of this one, and some of the screw holes are not exactly in the right place, but I will be offering plans. For those, by all means, you can build something like this. This helps keep the toilet more stable. We did a 3,000-mile, 4,000-mile trip down to Texas recently, and the water wasn't so bumpy. We didn't get out on it that much. We were at a bit of a show, and the Port Aransas first annual plywood boat festival. So quite enjoyed ourselves, and we also visited Sale, Oklahoma on the way down. But the roads were bumpy and quite rough with some serious potholes, and we had 2 blowouts, and not once did this fall over inside the head of the boat, which would have been a bit of a mess because we were using it at the time. So it is a very good, solid design. I'm happy with a bad hip. It's at 16 inches height, I think I mentioned, and it also allows me to get my feet in and around the toilet rather than the box style toilets, which frankly I feel like I have to drop myself down and then pull myself up. For me, they're difficult to use because I have to have a hip replacement apparently. So this gives you an idea of what we're looking at, and so not to be too long on this, if you visit roydesignThat.com, you'll get information on plans. Of course, you've seen it, so you can quite handily build it yourself. The plans will be cheap. They'll just give you the exact measurements so that you can cut out the parts and make everything right the first time. And if there's an interest, I may also offer kits and try and keep them as cheap as possible as well, because I think composting is a great way to go. We do use this as our second bathroom. I have a teenage son, and he tends to occupy. Plus, Deanne kicks me off the toilet all the time. So, this way I have my peace. I go out in the boat, and we don't have a second bath, so this comes in quite handy when moments of desperate need comes my way. I utilize this beastie, and I clean it into a composter in our backyard. So I'll show you that as well. I clean it out, simply unfastening the bucket, and which, by the way, I should show you is very easy to do. So for cleaning, the base is strong enough that it stands up on its own, and you just remove the bucket. Cleaning just involves, I have a wooden stick, a wooden little paddle stick, and I simply throw in more sawdust and dry clean it and wipe the sawdust all around, and then take a little bit of toilet paper and wipe it out, and leave the toilet paper in the bottom and throw your sawdust peat moss mix on top, and you've got it started again. Each time you use it, you cover your deposit, and that's what keeps it from smelling. It's amazing how the peat moss will keep down the odor. I tried sawdust alone. It does not work. All by itself, it still has a bit of a smell, but it does soak up the urine fairly efficiently. So, but you need the peat moss in order to keep the smell down. Of course, like any bathroom, there's a bit of ventilation, and you spray after and so forth. But when we use this and we keep it in the boat, and we take our friends out on outings, and nobody's being polite, because I just certainly don't smell anything, and my wife, who's particular like anything, she doesn't smell anything, so it took me a whole season to convince her to use this. So I'm very pleased with it. I think there's a lot of use, a lot of practicality in areas where you can use it. Ice huts, camps, beats just going crap in the woods. So there you have it. Being a dry toilet, there is not a horrible mess to clean up. You simply throw in more peat moss and sawdust, and I have a special stick that I use that you just rub it around to soak up any residue that's left, and dump that once more, and then you start it fresh with a bedding of peat moss and sawdust in the bottom, and you're good to go.